Hello guys and girls, how's it going? And welcome to History of, the series in which I look at the real life history behind the vehicles we play in games. And today we are looking at the Reggiane 2000 Falco. Now, this is one of the newest plane additions to the Italian tech tree, and the RE2000 was one of the most advanced fighter interceptors of its time. An all-metal low-wing monoplane, it was first inked in 1937 and equipped with a retractable undercarriage, still somewhat of a modern thing at the time. In 1938, the Italian Air Ministry made Programme R, a large effort to create a massive improvement to their quality and quantity of the Regia Aeronautica. At the time, many planes were under construction, such as the Fiat G50, the Marchi C202, and the Caprani Visola F5, and they were already in development. However, none of these were being built under the Programma R stipulation, and the only plane that was actually being built under that stipulation was the Reggiane RE2000. As 1938 rolled on, work carried on the RE2000, which was a brand new fighter designed from the ground up. Designed by Roberto Longini and Antonio Alessio, the plane took inspiration from its American contemporary, the P-35, which was looked at to be built under license by the Italians at the time, also at the Reggiane factory as well. Reggiane factory. Although it did strongly resemble the American fighter, it did have some differences, mainly in the aerodynamics, as they had the opportunity to fine-tune the plane with Caproni's wind tunnel. For some reason I wrote car there, I must have been thinking of something else. This aided the plane to make it more streamlined. The RE2000 was the first plane made by Reggiane to employ an aluminium stressed skins construction, instead of the usual method of mixed wood and metal, which was common at the time with many of the Italian planes. Let's switch to player view, sorry. It made the plane very streamlined apart from the odd rivet. The only part of this plane made of fabric was the control surfaces, so the tail section basically, and the ailerons. Reggiane also introduced several highly advanced features for the plane, such as a more modern structure, an elliptical wings, retractable landing gear, a retractable tail wheel with steering included in it, pneumatic brakes. These all were much more advanced than the Fiat G50 and the Marchi C200s of the time. However, one of the major drawbacks was a reliable inline engine, and it was not available to Reggiane at the time. Italian aviation had been struggling with their inline engines, so compromise had to be made, and the Piaggio PXI-40 radial engine had to be used instead. This meant that the plane had only a minor advantage over the C200. The engine was a major weak point for the plane, as it proved to be highly unreliable, and there was a lack of engines at the time due to nearly all planes using them. However, it was not all bad news. The plane was compact, and with the radial engine, the plane did have good weight balance. The elliptical wings had 5 spars in them as well, giving them great strength. The fuel tanks were also wing-mounted, and one huge advantage was the canopy that gave a pilot almost unrestricted all-around visibility. As you can see with the cockpit, it's pretty much glass all the way around. The plane was armed with synchronised twin 12.7 Bradesafter machine guns, with 300 rounds in each gun, installed in the upper section of the fuselage. The guns were actually accessible to the pilot in the event of a jam situation. It was possible for the pilot to try and clear it, Additionally, a bomblet dispenser was fitted to the plane, allowing a 100 kilogram bomb to be placed underneath the plane, along with a gun camera and small internal bomb bays which could hold up to 4 2-kilogram incendiary bombs. There were trials with wing-mounted guns, however, but they were not used in the end. The RE2000 was cancelled by the Italian government, however. They did encourage Reggiane to open up the plane for sale to the global market. So they built their production batch of 188 units so that with a foreign market interested, they could provide delivery right away. With the outbreak of the Second World War, many nations were in need of a modern fighter interceptor, predominantly the Hungarians and the Swedish Air Force, who in fact used 80% of the RE2000s, while only 5 of the Series 1 planes served their home nation. A few more of the Series 2, Series 3s did actually serve the Italians. Interestingly enough, the British government and Air Force looked into ordering 300 of the RE2000s during January of 1940. The German government approved this sale in March, but a month later withdrew their approval. Italy then went to use its Portuguese office to sell the planes to sidestep the German diplomatic demands. However, the British cancelled the order the 10th of June, for some obvious reasons, as Italy joined the Axis forces. The Reggiane Aeronautica used the RE2000 in small numbers, and with little success. The plane was disliked by ground crew and pilot due to the rather unreliable engine, which caused most of the losses to the plane. One incident had a piston literally driven through the cylinder of the engine. The plane crash-landed, overturned and caught fire. However, the ground crew did manage to pull the pilot out, so he did survive from this wreckage. Alive, but a little bit burnt. One benefit for the plane was the range of it. It did have a very large fuel tank, and it had a range of 350 kilometres, more than any of the current Italian fighters. The plane often provided air cover for access shipping up to Tunisia. It was also used to attack Malta for dawn raids with bomblets and machine guns. The last plane was sent home in September of 1942 for the Reggiane Aeronautica. However, that is not the end of the plane. The Reggiane Marina experimented with a carrier version of the RE2000, despite lacking any aircraft carriers. The plane was successfully launched via catapult. The planes were used then similar to the British cam ship Hurricanes. The RE2000 Cat, nicknamed the Ochetta, or Little Goose, took time to convert for this role, and was finally used aboard the Littorii class battleships. These were single-mission aircraft, which meant that the plane had to fly to an airfield after launch to ditch in the water, and the pilot had to hope for a rescue, basically, or try and find an airfield close by. A few upgrades were made to the plane. The main one was actually a radio in there, as well as a slightly more powerful engine. Some were also fitted with drop tank fuel pods. Now we're going to switch to a different replay here, because, well, the plane doesn't make it. The biggest problem of this plane is its engine. We'll just fast forward a little bit here. As you can see, I'm trying to get in. Now, I think I made the mistake of trying to actually lower my gear here, because I think if I didn't lower my gear I might have just made it, but even so it would have been touch and go. As you can see, we are just so close to that airfield, but trees are gonna get me before I can get there. And bye-bye wings. Okay, we will be right back with you. And we are back, and just showing off a little bit here, the cockpit view. It's got a beautiful cockpit, and you can actually see here the guns on the inside here. This is where the pilot could clear the jams if need be. Wasn't an easy task, but he could do it. Anyway, we will continue on. The plane had much greater life in Sweden and Hungary, however. The Swedish pilots did enjoy the plane, and it was the fastest plane they had in service up until they started making their own planes in late 1943, I think. The plane was used to intercept Allied and Axis planes that came into the neutral country's airspace. Only one was lost in combat after intercepting a DO-24 on the 3rd of April 1945. Now, the pilots absolutely adored this plane. The Swedish pilots found this plane really good, and it handled extremely well, even in very harsh conditions. Some of them, I believe, did have sleds equipped to them as well for snow and ice landing, but the plane worked very, very well. The Hungarian Air Force used the plane much more in combat, and also bought the license to build their own variant. 70 RE-2000s were delivered, and around 170 to 200 Mavag were built between 1940 and 1942. Now, you have to forgive my pronunciation there. I'm not very good at speaking Hungarian. I do hope I pronounced that kind of right. Anyway, the first taste of blood for the plane was on the Eastern Front in autumn of 1941, flying against the Soviets. The combined forces with Fiat CR-32s claimed 8 kills with only 1 loss during a 3-month period of combat. The first Hungarian ace, Lieutenant Imre Panzel, claimed his first air victories while flying the RE-2000 as well, taking down 3 enemy planes in a single sortie. In 1942, Enz Vadja however claimed the first blood for the Hungarian RE-4000 on August the 4th. Sorry, I've got that a little bit wrong way around there. August the 4th, taking down 2 enemy aircraft. The most successful sortie of the Hungarians was the 9th of August 1942, where the RE-2000s, along with a couple of Bf-109s, intercepted 16 IL-2s and around 12 Lag 3s. The Hungarian Air Force downed 4 of the Lags, while only suffering 1 loss. The pilot of the RE-2000, however, did make it back across to his friendly lines and managed to crash land, only suffering minorish wounds. He wasn't exactly happy, but he was okay. The last flight of the RE-2000 in anger was the Home Defense Force intercepting the US Army Air Force 15th Air Force Division, 180 bombers and 170 fighters. The RE-2000s managed to down 6 confirmed American planes, while only 2 RE-2000s were lost. The RE-2000 would go on to get its inline engine at last with the RE-2001, but that is a story for another day. So how is it in-game? Well, as you've probably seen from this video, it's actually pretty good. It's great in a dive, and it's a really good boom and zoomer. It also has very good turn rate, even at high speeds. You really want to get the G-force set on your pilot though, because you will black out a lot. It's pretty good at climbing. It's a very decent climber, in fact. It does overheat an awful lot. You will find that the roll rate at high speed is not great, and the fact you've only got twin 12.7mm Bradders are really underwhelming. Especially when they hit, they are not too bad, but they have very poor velocity. Feels like a Japanese plane almost. The engine, the ammunition, sorry, they don't feel like they do much damage. They feel very slow. The bullets almost feel like very sluggish in the air. It's very hard to get the aim with them. When they do hit, they don't seem to do much damage either. You do get a lot of sparking. The engine is also very fragile, if you saw last video as well. If you get hit in the cooling, you are absolutely screwed. This engine overheats no matter what. If you're damaged, you're lucky if you get it home. So we've got a D501 here. And we zoom in front of him. We've got lucky there he didn't pull the trigger, because that could have been a very nasty surprise to us. At around 2.0 BR, this plane is fantastic. Couple of hits there. We're in a bit of a turn fight now, and we're turning at relatively high speeds here, and we've really got the advantage on this plane. There we go, his wing is gone. So that is a nice little hit there. When this plane's at its BR, it is very, very good. When it's up-tiered, it is a bit harder, in all honesty. It's not great when you're up-tiered. When you're down-tiered, well, you just feel like king. You want to get quite close to the enemy. You've got to keep your guns at around 400 to 500 meters convergence as well. But in my mind, this is one of the best low-tier Italian fighters. It is really quite good, especially with speed. Turning as well, this thing really can turn well. You will have times where you'll be sort of almost out-turning biplanes, which is just really, really silly. You've got to be careful in it, of course, because you are a little bit fragile. You know, you've got no armour. You will get taken out relatively easy, and yeah, you do have to be careful. But it is just a very, very good plane. Now, I want to give a shout out to one of my followers, Star-Lord, who's actually flying with me here today. There we go, way down yonder. Star-Lord there, it's actually been following me for a long, long time, since I had only 7 subscribers. So, very long time follower of mine. We actually just grouped up to do some of these videos so I could get some footage today for this flight. Now, this NC223 up here is my next target. And this is where that climbing comes in. You can see this thing is climbing really well here. It does climb extremely well for a low tier plane. At 100% throttle though, you will really overheat quite a lot. Now we're going to turn up here and we are going to stall climb. And we're going to get some lucky hits here. We actually get a really lucky, weird hit here because we damaged the wing enough that this guy obviously was in a dive, taken too much speed, and couldn't pull up, or just overdid it. So we got the kill. I really don't know how that happened. We didn't get a crit or anything like that. So overall, that was pretty damn good. I was pretty happy with that. So yes, that's really the end of this game. The rest of it is pretty average from here. It's just people around their airfield and nothing much else happens. So we'll head back to base and we'll have a quick look at the plane in its hangar. I do really advise unlocking this plane if you are looking at playing the Italian tech tree. It's very, very good. Now, it's the first in this line, so I do reckon we will be getting the RE 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and hopefully the 2005 as well. So basically the variants with the DB6 engine in, the inline engine, the German engine. This engine here. So the beautiful Daimler-Benz DB605. So we will be getting that hopefully soon, being that they have released this in its own tech tree. And I imagine we'll be getting... This will be more of the fighter sort of interceptor role, most likely. It'll be interesting to see what we get there for it. But at low tier, this is just definitely the best plane at 2.0. The 202 is good. Having those extra 7.7mm machine guns does help a little bit. But in all honesty, at 2.0, this is the best plane you're going to have flying. The biplanes and things like that, they are useful to learn in. You will have an easier time in sim with those, but yeah, the RE2000 is fantastic. There is no armor what to speak of. Your fuel tank is centerlined, as you can see just underneath the pilot. They are self-sealing, apparently. Well, it says they're self-sealing. From what I've read in technical specifications, there was meant the fuel tanks should actually also be in the wing section here. So I'm not too sure about that. That little section there was actually where the bombs went, though. So those little bomblets, the little incendiary bombs, as I was talking about before. I don't think you can actually see the little openings. Oh wait, no, that's the wheel casing. Sorry. Must be somewhere around there. Yeah, there was a little opening basically where the little bomblets went. So I'm not exactly sure where they went. I cannot find any of the little pictures of them, but a lot of Italian planes had these little tiny bomb bay doors that just dropped the incendiary bombs. And they weren't big incendiary bombs, they were just enough to sort of cause grass fires and things like that, and just cause havoc. Overall, it's a very pretty plane, though. The biggest issue is that radial engine. Once you get hit in the oil cooling, or just hit in the engine in general, you will need to just RTB straight away, because it will overheat very quickly. If you have this thing on full throttle, it will just overheat very quickly. Okay guys, well I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I hope you have a lovely day. I will see you next time, and for now, this is me, Screezilla, out. Bye bye.